What during all that? So from 5 years of having the idea, coming up with sandwiches, pitching to your friends, getting investors, what was the hardest part?
It's like the world, like if you want something, there's always going to be challenges and there's always going to be hurdles that you have to overcome.
What's the most important thing you've learned in life so far?
The first way you get to someone's mind or spirit is by...
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Talkin St Pete. I am your host, Ryan Bogdan. Before we jump into today's episode, I just want to thank everyone for liking, sharing, telling a friend, doing all the fun things. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Just appreciate all the support. And this episode is sponsored by Bogdan Homes, which is my company. If you need any help in real estate, if you know anyone looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, please reach out to us and let us know. That's how we fund the podcast and keep doing all the fun things and bringing great guests. Like today's, we have Grant Strayer. He is the founder, among a few others, that started Gateway Subs. And if you haven't heard of it, you will here soon. It's an amazing sub shop. They have taken over the scene of St. Pete very quickly with their amazing sandwiches. And I will say, Grant, your subs are better than a pub sub. And that goes a long way.
It does, especially in this town.
Yeah, it really
in the state
does.
of Florida, pub subs are the kings of the crops, and there might be a few locals and whatnot that get in, some reputation there. But we, that's starting to become the word on the streets.
The word on the street is Gateway Subs are better than pub subs. And what I will tell you what I think my opinions are as to why your bread.
Mm-hmm.
Your bread is better than Publix. I mean, a pub sub is great, but a Gateway sub is excellent.
Yeah.
And so I want to hear all about your story, but since we're talking about that, why do you, what makes in your eyes your subs better than Publix?
Not to go too into depth with it, but Publix is traditionally a grocery store, so they have the larger power, the larger capability of, they already had the bakery, they got the deli, let's just put it together, but they weren't necessarily focusing on sandwiches all up until, now they're starting to kick Subways off the lease. They're starting to double down into the sandwich game because they're seeing a good amount of revenue there. It's hard to find a really good sub, and Publix does. Like, we growing up all the time, pub sub, chicken tenders on sale. Like, we would text around to all of our buddies and stuff like that. And I think that ours takes something that's really great, like a sandwich, and just throws a little bit cooler rims on it.
Oh, I love that.
Like we thought a lot
Pippin'
about
my ride.
Yeah. I mean, with the chips and everything else and the sauces and just different flavors and with a little bit of flair in which we do create the sandwich, and every sub's made with, precision and love. And we try to treat every sandwich that comes through just, this person, it's their food, and a lot of care goes into it. Even just the thought process of the menu. We got myself and then three other of our co-founders, Henry, Brandon, and Morgan, got into a house, and we spent $8,000 in R&D making 88 sandwiches, throwing a bunch of shit on the wall and seeing what sticks. And from there, just decided, tried 3 different meats of ham, turkey, just trial and error. And that's a lot of what Gateway is. It's taken a concept that a few of us, me, Brandon, and Morgan, grew up in Boca Raton, where that's kind of where this all started. We had the best sandwiches in town at our fingertips because of where we were from. There's a lot of Northeastern delis, a lot of people like that who loves their hoagies.
Right.
So just the Northeastern style of a fresh, cold cut, sliced in front of you, all the veggies, and then even topping it and with meat and making a little sushi roll. Like, we grew up with that. And then I went to Indiana, Brandon went to Cleveland, Morgan went to FSU, and we're like, where's the sandwiches at? And through don't ever let a good catastrophe go to waste. COVID kind of froze everything, where we all got to come back to Boca. And I was already thinking about this for quite some time, but I was able to see where the pieces of recruiting some key components into the company, and started putting it all together and kept working towards it.
You touched on one thing there, because it is up. I moved here from Philadelphia, so a good hoagie goes a long way, and you're definitely bringing that feeling down here in the local area. But I know this story goes back even further than that, because I think you mentioned partly that your dad had a sandwich shop, correct?
So he ended up investing in a sandwich shop in Naples. It's still there. It's still badass, everything about it, when I was going through college. And I got to kind of, going through Indiana, getting a finance degree, wanting to create a business, wanting to create a vehicle of goodwill that people could attach themselves to and also make a part of them and continue to grow. so that it could take on a life of its own. I got to see relatively the inner workings of a sandwich shop and thought this is pretty cool. And, you know, I like working with my hands. I like being active. I like moving around, and that's what we do. I think one of our employees with her Fitbit timed like a busy lunch rush, and it's 3 miles we walked.
Wow.
Or something like that, where it's just we're nonstop moving. And I love the kitchen. And like the sandwich shop's like the simplest, dumbest version of a gourmet kitchen.
Yeah. Now, a fun little thing here. Whose shop do you think is better, you or your dad's?
No, because they're different. And this is the whole thing because and my dad's a partner in it. Like
right.
he
didn't formulate the idea.
No. My dad grew up collecting 20,000 eggs on a chicken farm at the age of 8, and if he didn't sell to his teachers, he didn't eat lunch that day.
Got it.
Right. So my dad's a serial entrepreneur.
Yep.
He anything to make a buck. Like went from New York driving produce to, you know, now in Florida and doing pretty well for himself.
Right.
So he, you know, a young individual came to him wanting some cash and to try a concept out, and he was kind of known for that, so helped him out, and they are fantastic. And
Got
they
it.
blew
So
up.
it's separate. I just wanted to
it's
poke
also
the bear.
different. Like for us, like I care more about customer service than I do about sandwiches.
Yeah.
Like every single individual who comes in there, like the first way you get to someone's mind or spirit is by feeding them. And if you don't, like, we lead with a smile, a greeting. First time customers get free chips crushed up on their subs. When dogs come in, they get a free slice of turkey. When we did have cookies, anytime a kid gave us a high five, they got a free cookie. And like, you know, it's our community sub shop. Like
it's so I love that you're sharing all that, because you have this just opened in November, correctly?
November 8th of 2021.
2021. So we're just a little over a year old, and you have spread throughout the community so fast. I've heard so many people talk about your subs, and that has a lot to say with how involved you are with the community, which adds to the vibe of what we talk about here all the time on Talkin St Pete is the community of the area here. And so for you to bring that here and capitalize on, this is a place where people love community. They love to walk in and feel like they're special when they come to a place, and you definitely feel that with your shop. So hats off to you guys, man. You guys are doing it.
And we try, like St. Pete, I mean, like a lot of us who weren't normally from here, like we came and visited once, and all of a sudden we couldn't get it out of our heads. And like for me, I was dead set 3 years planning this, no matter what. It's Austin, Texas, right? No matter what. It was like all throughout college. I was a kid from Indiana. I never even been to St. Pete up until like 2 weeks before I decided that this is where we were going to start. And then I was driving around, ended up chasing a girl over here and like a few buddies for a quick vacation, and left and just couldn't get it out of my head. Had the best time in St. Petersburg.
What was it?
It was just the day. Like we had one of those legendary days that you just like will never forget.
Right. Yeah.
Like I called, it was during COVID, so I called Burns because I love, you know, Burns. So anytime I'm over here, it was only once before in Tampa. I was like, I got to go there. Called them every single day for 5 days leading up to it. And they said, sorry, you know, we're booked up.
They're always booked.
Limited, yada. And then I call and they're like, we have an opening for Sunday, like late. And I'm like, I'm going to be home, right? I'm driving home early Sunday. And then I go, wait, but I didn't ask about today. I called them back and they said, we have a reservation for 7 or at 11 for 7 that just canceled. Would you want it? And I was like, 11 o'clock dinner at Burns, like, heck yeah. So we came over here, went to Parks and Rec, played BP trash can for like hours, bet everyone a beer, just drank for free, kept winning, and then went back to our buddy's place, Ubered to Tampa, went to Burns, was there till like 3 o'clock in the morning. The guy's name, the waiter's name is Grant. At Burns, you can't have the name of anyone else. So he came in and his real name wasn't Grant, but someone else had his name, so he had to change it. So the name he chose was Grant. We had like the most miraculous like 3 hours. Everyone cleared out of the dining hall. It was just us by ourselves. And I was like, I got to come back here every single year. And I promised Grant that I would. And when originally we were starting in Austin, the hardest part would have been for us to come back as a company for the first 2 years because we're small, we're growing, there's not extra finances.
Right.
And I had to keep my promise. So we were driving home and we're like, why don't we just start it in St. Pete?
True to your word. True to your word. All because of Burns. Shout out to the other Grant that served these guys up. Man, it sounds like the deceased part of themselves, and it was just the clear skies. It was time to come.
It was one of those coincidences days.
Right.
Statistical probabilities is 0 that still occur every single day. And when they ring together in a string, it's like, you know, something else is at play.
What a beautiful story. And there's more to that. So okay, so you have a background, dad's in the sandwich shop, you see that model, go to school for finance, you got some buddies, you have this idea for 5 years you're working on, come to St. Pete. what happens next? I mean, because there's a lot. Like, okay, you put together 88 sandwiches. You don't have 88 sandwiches on your menu.
No, we picked the top 8.
Top
originally.
8. So did you have a taste test? Like, how does that happen?
Yeah,
like, who gets to come over and try all 88 samples?
Well, originally we didn't know anyone here. Like, not a single soul. Like, we bought a house, bought a sandwich shop. I had all my friends moving from Cleveland, moving from Indiana, moving from Boca. And, you know, I spent 6 months in apprenticeship in coffee while I was driving over here doing day trips, planning with like the realtors, looking at properties, spending 72 hours cross-gridding. I was doing this all on a flip phone and an iPod. I was like completely off grid and just, you know, hit me on my pager at 120 minutes. The realtor, the architect, the GC would have to call me. I would have to hang up, go find Wi-Fi, call them back on my email. And that's how I, like, for a year, pretty much.
Bootstrapping at its finest.
Mm-hmm. And just looking for omens.
And you found them.
Mm-hmm.
And you found them.
Yeah.
What else? It's so that keep going on that journey because it's so cool. There's so many little things.
So many little layers.
Yeah. So you find a place. You got 80. You at this point, did you already know the menu?
No. So we bought it. So it was 6 months. I was doing barista stuff. Co-owner Henry was doing working at Jimmy John's in Chicago's, trying to get a base layer of that understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And then Brandon was finishing up his master's in technology at Cleveland State. Morgan was originally going to go and open up his own restaurant in Boca, and then I pitched him on coming over. And then we did a big first company trip to Indiana. Everyone got to know each other. I hit up a bunch of my senior friends because, like, at this point we were 1 year removed from college. Hit them up, rented a U-Haul, picked up a bunch of furniture that we could bring down for the house, and, like, you know, loaded up, set up shop for the summer. Spent 3 months just guerrilla marketing, going to the pickleball courts, the yoga facility, just making friends. Right, the man with more friends wins.
Yeah,
and we went and made friends. And then by the time we were ready to launch, we had Brian's support from St. Pete Rising. We had a bunch of other things going on. We gave out 100 free subs, which really turned out to 166 free subs, where we just ran out of food on the first day.
Smart.
We were really close to the Madeira Beach Chamber. We won Best New Business of Madeira Beach 2 weeks after opening, just because of how tied we are with them. We've recently, or not recently, but over the past year, started a nonprofit that makes sandwiches and gets business owners together. We partnered with Caddies. Our most recent event, we did 700 sandwiches for 6 different nonprofits in town.
That's amazing.
And, like, so this town is just like,
it's taking you in with open arms, as it does with anyone who has good intentions.
And I'm a 24-year-old with a handlebar mustache that I grew so that people wouldn't look at me as being young. And when
is that how you showed up?
Oh, dude, I had a long handlebar, long hair, just like, oh yeah. And when I shaved, no one recognized me.
Right.
At all.
Right, because that was your identity.
Yep. And that's the nice part about being able to disappear every now and then is, like, you know, I'll play a character for 3-4 months, shave it up, and then no one will recognize me again, and I get to go on with my life. And then,
man.
Yeah.
So I'm interested, as you were telling that story, you convinced all your buddies to do this. You just had an idea. What was that pitch like to them, and how, like,
everyone was different. Like, Brandon, I called up. He was in Cleveland State. I was like, so what do you want to do for the next 50 years? You know, and he was like, well, I guess I'll do this, and eventually retire and do a restaurant. I'm like, how about we fast track? You help me with what I'm trying to put together here. And he said yes, and then I didn't share anything with him, and I forgot. Like literally, he's, I mean, one of the most loyal friends ever. Just because I brought him the idea, like 2 months went by, and from that point, like, I didn't share any other of, like, the business plan. Like, I had an 1.5-hour pitch that I was going and selling to investors, right, and, like, this whole 5-year, 10-year plan. And, like, I basically got 5 minutes in with him. He said yes. I'm like, all right, on to the next one.
Right. Got what I need. Thank you. I just need your buy-in.
It's all going to be good. And then Henry was different. Henry, I told him junior year of college, we were sharing a cigarette in the back of his truck. He just had some big stuff go on. And his dad's a doctor. His brother was valedictorian of his med class. Or very high up. Maybe don't quote me on the valedictorian portion, but he was always going to be a doctor. Mm-hmm. And that's always what he, like, went for biology. This is the route he was in. We became best friends freshman year of college. And then junior year, I told him, you're never going to get the chance to be a doctor because I'll pitch you on something else and you'll come join me. And,
like, I'm stealing the dream from you, buddy.
So, like, literally, he was about to go join the Army and become a doctor through there. And I call him up. I'm like, hey, like, you know, definitely sit with it. Think about it. Yeah, nothing in this life is guaranteed. And so he ended up joining, and so slowly the team built. Morgan originally said no, and because he wanted to pursue his other project in Boca and whatnot, and then I go on a month-long trip visiting all these people in October of 2020, I think, and I'm barefoot hippie living on like a flip phone, can't touch, it's just walk around.
But had a big idea, and
Yeah,
and you kept going with it. What during all that? So from the 5 years of having the idea, coming up with sandwiches, pitching to your friends, getting investors, all those things up until opening day, what was the hardest part?
There's no like one hardest part. It's like the world, like if you want something, there's always going to be challenges and there's always going to be hurdles that you have to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you're only going to be able to receive the things that you're able to overcome and like process past. Cause it was a bunch of little things. Like I would say like the business portion of it wasn't the hardest part. It was putting everything together and like, trying to keep it all sane.
Mm-hmm.
Like my brother passed away in the process of all this. And like that was like the thing that kind of like sent the whole catalyst up into a swirl.
My condolences.
Yeah, and it's his birthday
Today.
Which is freaking crazy, and he's been giving me a great day. Last year he planned a great day for me.
What was his name?
Bryce.
Bryce.
Yeah. So the only sub I created was the Brycer, and it's the one on the sandwich, and I get to hear my brother's name said every single day because the saying goes that someone dies twice: once when the physical body ceases to exist,
And the last time
that man's name is uttered. And like my brother's name is gonna live forever. And yeah. And
I love that.
I get to, smile every time someone orders it. I get to write his name on sandwiches quite frequently. And and he gets to hang out with me.
And so that's a big moment in life. And you said that sent it up into a spiral in terms of like, that was like, okay, this definitely has to happen. Or did it help? Like, was it the net? Like it was, this is getting,
it was
tough.
Leading me into a valley, right? Every valley is a peak. Every peak is a valley. And
Yep.
every valley gets way to a greater equivalent peak if you so choose to walk that path. And for me, like things were going pretty well. Yes, setbacks with GCs, like all the typical things that you expect. Like, we were 23, 24 doing this, right? And like I just kind of lost my shit, for a good year.
Yeah.
And it's just a long valley that I never thought would end, and it is, and there's light, and it's getting better.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, you got the support of an amazing community around you that you built, and I love the story of how you keep keeping his name alive. And a funny thought that came up during that, I'm like, well, then that sandwich has to be epic. And I want to know.
Freaking awesome.
So what is on a Brycer?
So we would recommend white bread and then mayo, provolone. We do scoops of buffalo chicken salad that we make in house. Then we'll toast it, pull it out. We'll do lettuce, onion, sweet pepper, hot pepper, some spicy ranch, a bag of jalapeno chips crushed up and drizzled on top, and then it's tucked in with a sliced buffalo chicken that we put on top. And then it's like a little sushi roll wrapped up in tinfoil, and then it's just pretty epic.
I'm mouth-watering right now. That sounds
it's damn good.
Yeah.
And a lot of our subs are really good. Like even in the process, like after the 8, we started doing weekly specials that we would make something new every single week. And because of trial and error and hearing our customers, now we just added like 5 new sandwiches to the menu, and they're all pretty badass. And that's kind of like the methodology that I use for things is just, here's this big goal. We're going to fall for it 1,000 times, maybe 2. And then in the process, we're going to figure it all out and then get better and better and better, and then create a science that is hopefully replicatable and continue to scale.
So, and you guys just opened a second location. So what's the plan going forward? Where do you see Gateway Subs 3 years from now?
Definitely like more cities in the state of Florida. Like I want to continue, like for me, like one of the spurring things with Gateway is that society's never been closer, yet we've never felt farther apart. And the best way to first get to someone's mind and spirit is by feeding them a sandwich or feeding them anything. And then we get to like give them a greeting, because of Subway and a few of these other companies, the standard for sandwiches are so low. So when people come in with low expectations, we get to exceed them. Therefore, they're way happier. And then they hopefully go on with their day and just they're smiling for at least a little bit longer, right? So like internally, we, where all the co-owners work there. Like, we're pretty close to our employees. We try to, work with them as best as we possibly can. We do care a lot. And because of that, it's creating a really interesting culture of just like a family. And at Gateway 1, we have 2 different slogans on the walls. One, we're Epicurean to value good business and treat people like people. Rather than objects getting in the way of our happiness is the extension of that quote. And the other one is come as a customer, leave his family. And it's cool to just see, like, I go out in town now and I see customers and they're like, hey, like, I know you. Like, and it just makes the community smaller. And for like, we spend so much time at work. Like, I would like this to become something where I get to bring people into my family and it actually sustains them. It's actually like quality of life. There's enjoyment. There's different values that then bleed into the outside of their daily lives.
It's amazing. I love the vision. So what does your day-to-day look like now?
Every day is different. Every single day. I'm trying to get to a point where I'm able to take one Sabbath where I'm just like not working, get to focus on just like mental health, just quality of life, just focus on girlfriend, all the other boxes. But outside of that, it's, we just went from 1 to 2. So obviously then I had to come back into the shop a lot because we just stretched pretty thin. It's the hardest jump that we're going to have to make. It's 100% growth. And now we're finally getting some good hands, some good people. We're getting way more confident with our team, which allows me to draw back a little bit more. We're trying to develop a marketing strategy and whatnot because Gateway 2 and Gateway 1 didn't have as much cross customer exposure as we thought it was going to be. And now we have one of our co-owners, Morgan. He's been wrapping up 500 little mini, like 1/6 subs. So 2-inch sub and going out with BOGO cards attached to menus. And we've given out 2,000 BOGO cards over the past like 3 weeks.
Wow.
And it's just blossoming. People are so excited. They're like, thanks for sending that nice man by. It's like, like we know who you're talking about. I don't know when he came in or when you saw you.
Right.
And that's been really cool to see too, because then we're getting more refined as a corporate structure of how do we expose ourselves to a new area.
And I love the guerrilla marketing tactics. They're definitely working.
Oh yeah. Like living on a flip phone, you just go out and like smile at people. Like, hey, here's like anywhere I go, it's like, you like a sandwich? And someone will look at me weird. Like, I don't know. Why are you asking me? I'm like, it's not that weird. Like getting a massage. I'm like, you like a sandwich? Like, it's like, that was great. Like, here, have a hoagie. Like you're a little weird, but okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like telling people, trying to make them laugh a little bit. And then once they come in, keeping with that consistent flow of just, we treat you really well. First timers get free chips. Right. Always give before you ever ask to receive. And then yeah, it's working out pretty neat.
It is, and it has a lot to say about how awesome the community is here in accepting you. I felt the sneeze coming on; it went away though.
Elephant.
Yeah, right. Look at the light. What is it about St. Pete now that you've been here? Feels like, well, a couple questions there. I like to ask people this: is makes it so special, and then what do you think it's missing? So let's start with this for a second. What do you think St. Pete is missing?
I don't necessarily think it's missing anything. I think that it's blossoming, and when nature takes hold, it has like a way of like growing in different directions, right? And like the less you kind of contain that, almost the better it is. But then sometimes you got to draw back a little bit. One of the things that worries me over the next 10 years is just like we continue at this trajectory and all of a sudden it turns into like a city where you can't get around. It's not enjoyable. All the little blessings that brought you here that made you really happy about getting to see a sunset over the Gulf and a sunrise over the bay every single day, like those things start to get missed because of just too quick or too fast, too quick, right? So that's like one of my concerns. And like I'm loving everything that's happening now because the city needs, like it's got so much to offer. And with all these different types of people coming into town, plus locals starting their own things, like there's so much going on. And I love that. Like I need constant stimuli to some extent. Like that's kind of how I operate. So
I like that you put that, because that is a special thing that you can watch the sunrise and the sunset over two different bodies of
water.
It's
paradise.
Yeah, amazing. Do you get to do that often?
We like, I mean, I'll wake up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, my girlfriend and I will get a 45-minute walk in. She's doing 75 hard and whatnot. So like because of that, we're just, okay, we either sneak it in at night after work or we sneak it in the morning, and I prefer to get the sunrise. And then if she's like, I know you interviewed Jody.
Jody, from Sweat.
Yep. So she's doing Sweat now. So she's up at like 5 o'clock. I'm going to my gym at 5 o'clock. And then
what class does she do? 5 or 6?
The 6 o'clock one. Okay. Yeah.
Wow. I probably see her all the time. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm there. 6 is my time.
So I'll have to make that connection. Yeah. But so it's just getting into that activity. I got to make sure that I'm sweating once a day. Like when you sweat, cortisol lowers, which is a chemical for fear, and serotonin rises, which is a chemical for happiness, and it just helps with clarity. And like that's one of the habits that over this past year like got tossed to the wayside and caused so much chaos. Like if anything, this past year was kind of like a case study of like the story of my own personal life and also Gateway, and just like, you know, the habits that made everything great. You lose them, and it's very quick to tip.
Yeah. Well, good habits are important. I love you bringing up cortisol levels and serotonin. Like it's all super important, and to just recognize those things and know what's good and what works for you to keep yourself sane. Because as an entrepreneur in still very early stages of your business, it is a baby. Yeah, it needs to be fed and nurtured, and all the things are, and it can fall apart. And even though you're growing quickly, you're still a driving force behind it. And if you're not put together, how's anything else going to be put together? I get that. I can relate to you on that sense of starting this and everything else I've been doing as well. Has that been something that's new for you? That
the working out or what?
The sweating and at least not the sweating part, but maybe the
it's not new. I had it. Like I went like while planning this, I left college, lost 45 pounds, lived on the flip phone, spent like every day 5 o'clock in the morning, every night 10 o'clock, reading 3 to 4 hours a day, consuming, I think I consumed 45 books over the process of like putting this all together, and just was on like a massive learning grind, whether it was coffee, whether it was, just business in general. Biographies, just
well, go ahead, name what's out of those 40 books, which are top 2, 3 that you would recommend.
Leadership and Self-Deception, Getting Out of the Box by the Arbitrary Institute, and then Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is a classic, and then Infinite Game by Simon Sinek.
Okay.
It's just about, there's finite games which have a beginning, a middle, and an end. It has a set time. It has a score. Football, soccer, all those would be constituted in that. And then there's an infinite game, which is the game of business, the game of life. Like the idea is to perpetuate it forever, right? And it's just two different ways of looking at things. And if you look at the infinite game in a finite mindset, then you're going to end up like burning, essentially. And it just kind of gives you like structure for just cause, your why, just structuring a business. Like if you want to go create something and you don't know what you want to create, this was like a teetering book of just like, here's all the tools necessary to apply knowledge.
I can tell you're well read, and you definitely have, you're doing awesome things. So that's why I was curious as to what, out of those books, what sticks out to you. And I mean, the infinite versus the finite, beautifully it's said there, because I think sometimes all of us right in life are looking at that as like, it's just so in the now, and like this is making things bigger, more important than what they really are.
Moles in the mountains.
Yeah.
Or molehills in the mountains.
Right, yeah. And it's taking that step back and realizing that there's, in the game of business, why I love it so much, and life, it goes on until...
forever. The idea is that you should be able to walk away and everything still drives.
Right.
Like it's producing a separate entity that can operate hopefully forever. And as long as like all the different columns are structured where it's good, and that like in our missions, like one of our missions, I have a plethora of quotes, but
I can tell
with the Epicureans who value good business and treat people like people rather than objects in the way of our happiness. The whole structure of that is we're Epicureans. We just, in the base sense of it, we don't follow Epicurean, but we just value good food and drink, right? Sandwiches, coffee, we just want it to be of quality. Who value good business, when it's a win-win. We try to only operate in win-win exchanges. We'll give a little bit on your first go. We know we're not the cheapest sandwich in town, but then we offer all this extra value. And every now and then you might just get something for free. We do punch cards. We do points. Like, we try to make it work. We do art on consignment for local artists and free water with our fancy water machines that people love. And then to treat people like people rather than objects getting in the way of our happiness. A lot of the times we take the human out of like the human experience. And because of like retail and all these other things, you just start to look at people as objects rather than like, this is a person with a soul.
Right.
Yeah, like this person has problems. Or
Have you always thought that way?
No, complete opposite. My motto in high school was go to the money, your heart will follow. And like,
so when did that change for you?
High school, I was quite accomplished, graduated with 76 college credits, walked into Indiana with a 50% scholarship and a junior. And I didn't like my life very much. Like I didn't really invest. Like I had really good friends, but those good friends became better friends once like college took place. And I would even come home. And although I got less time with them being near, I got more valuable time. We got deeper. I got to understand them a little bit better because I wasn't just looking for the next carrot.
Right.
And then in college, my motto went to maximum amount of results, minimum amount of effort, and less is more. I took 12 hours a semester. I would, not really grind during the school year, but get everything done, get A's and B's, like, but just not kill myself. And then to pay for college, I did Cutco. So I sold knives over the summer, did that for 3 years, was able to bring in about $80,000 net over 3 summers just working knives and learn a lot of the managerial skills. Went from sales rep to assistant manager to running my own branch in Naples where I had to go do 3 months, set it up, get an apartment, get a lease, and start a business from scratch.
Yep. Now the Cutco knives, that is not an easy gig. What were some top skills that you feel like you might have learned while doing that?
Yeah.
That has translated over?
People skills and soft skills.
Yeah.
Like it's just all communication. Like the person who could communicate the best in the industry is probably the one who's going to be, the most successful.
And what do you think it is about communication that makes someone successful versus not?
The genuine aspect of it. Like even through all this chaos, I always try to see my people as like, these are my people. And although sometimes I might get a headache from my people, like they're still my people. And like they have their own shit going on too. Life is very complicated. And we try to do a good job of like, once you enter these doors, just try to let it all go. Yeah. Don't bring it in. And if you need to vent and you need to talk about it, like, let's do it. And so
let's put the shop to the side for a second. On the little bit of free time that you have, what do you like doing in your free time?
Resting.
Like
seriously, like
I get that.
Like today's kind of a day off. And this worked out because, like I said earlier, like February 9th, he always just hooks it up. It's fun. I enjoy doing shit like this. Yeah. I enjoy getting to know other people in town. I enjoy hearing myself talk about my vision.
Yeah. Well, right? It's good. You got to just feed that subconscious the words so that way you can come into reality.
It gets lost in the trenches.
Yep.
And you have gangrene and all this trench foot and everything going on, and you're so present from pain. Yeah. Because doing stuff that's hard is painful.
Yep.
It's short-term suffering for long-term pleasure. And it makes you forget at times why you started it and what's at the end of the road.
So yeah, you gotta rest to be able to gain a different perspective on that and kind of pull yourself out of the game there for a second and review and look at life. And man, what a crazy day that, for today that we get to do this together.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and I
cool.
months like through college, I would get like accounting questions wrong because I didn't know my months in order, like things like that, like little things. Like, you don't need that, like this folks. Right. And like with days, it's like even up until this morning, like yesterday, I was like, oh, like I think it's my brother's birthday, and then today, like I got a bunch of texts. I'm like, oh, it's definitely his birthday, and like all this stuff was already cemented into time.
Yeah,
and it's like now I just get to roll with it.
Yep. What made you go with where in your mind did you for the flip phone and like that? You kind of took a back seat to what normal society is.
It was an accident. Okay. It's like the boiling frog effect. Like if you take an individual who's used to this society and you boil water and you drop them in, that frog will jump out immediately.
Right.
However, if you put a frog in cold water and boil it slowly, they'll sit there in a hot tub until they're dead.
Yep.
And for me, my phone at the back end of beginning of COVID, back into college, just SIM card malfunction. I was like, all right, let me get a paper clip, pop it out, pop it back in. It would work for 2 weeks. Then all of a sudden it would work for 1 week. Then all of a sudden it would work for 2 days, 1 day. And then it would work for 15 minutes. So then I was like, screw it. I can still get a hold of everyone. They just have to email me. And it's been a month and a half. I lived in a lake house during the craziness of COVID just because me and my friends got away. We're like, where could we go that is going to be the most normal, because you don't see anyone up in like northern Michigan anyways for the summer. And we pretty much had like a beautiful retreat, 6-7 friends, spent a month there, had the best time ever. And I would check my phone once a week.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And then all of a sudden I was like, I don't know how I go back to the other way.
Right.
And then slowly but surely, I'm back. And I'm like, I want to go back to the flip side.
I get that without the all incoming messages and everything else. I say, you talk about resting and everything, and you can ask Dominique, my assistant, that I tell her every day before 9 o'clock is beautiful to me because my phone's not blowing up. After 9 o'clock, it's game on. Yep. Everything's coming in, emails, texts, things on social. It's just all over. Nonstop. And so I'm with you on the sunrise piece. I love being up early and having that moment of solitude to just start the day off.
Quiet too.
Yeah. And typically I do sweat at 6 a.m. and then there's a little bit of time after that just to relax. And it is much needed before the hecticness of the world comes rushing at you.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
It just comes.
It really does.
It's
I can't imagine for you guys when the doors open. Like, what is it? I'm sure lunchtime is just a mad dash to get through that, and then dinner time. Do you guys get pretty busy at dinner time?
Yeah, so definitely like most of our volume's done between 11 to 2. Breakfast is starting to pick up. We do roast our own coffee in house. We do breakfast sandwiches. Yeah. So I did like during this whole thing. Like the idea is like we're about to introduce some new teas, some new juices. It's supposed to continue to evolve. And the coffee, like we do Kyoto drip only for cold brew. We have 5 towers in the one shop, 3 towers in the other shop. We get about, after an 8-hour drip process, probably anywhere from 15 to 20 cups of coffee, where then we do that twice, put it in a toddy and keg it, and then throw it in the cold brew.
Nice.
And because the sandwiches subsidize the coffee, we're able to pay up in bean prices and pick like good sourced, good quality, different flavor notes, and we get to start playing with different regions in the world, but we don't have to charge all the overhead of a $5-6 cup of coffee. Right?
You hear that, folks? You can go get a good cup of coffee at Gateway because they're hooking you up.
Kyoto for $3.80 for a 12 ounce and like $4.10 for a 16 ounce. And it's really good stuff. And it's rocket fuel, and it'll get you going. And if you're a little bit older, drink with care.
Hold on to your pants, folks. You're gonna get blast off. You come have a cup of coffee there. I love that. What's the most important thing you've learned in life so far?
The aspect of trying to get back to presentness, and how hard it really is. All day long, our attention is being grabbed at, buzzing, things like that. We're just a little bit conditioned. Yep. We hear a ringing bell and we start salivating. And the idea of just trying to get to the point where you're able to let go of that a little bit, and life is good. Life is really, really hard, and it's really, really good if you can view it. And I used to, something that I lived religiously by, even through the passing of my brothers, the world happens for you, not to you. And it's a choice.
It is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
It is a choice, man. Do you journal?
A lot.
Yeah.
I can 12th journal.
Nice. I can tell because you got these things locked in and they're deep in it. It's just pouring out of you. It's amazing.
Software.
Yeah. It really.
Yeah, it's updating the software.
Right.
And when you write, I think there's 1,000 extra neurons that get wired together than when you just speak it.
Yeah.
And even when you speak it, so much more happens than when you just think it.
Right. No, you have to. It's a formulating. I tell my friends all the time when they're going through something did you write that down? Mm-hmm. Just go write that out, because in your head it's probably way messier than it actually is. You put it on paper and you're like, that's it?
Yeah.
That's all it is.
I mean, trying to do the Gateway, just starting Gateway and then trying to just articulate that to my friends. I had to spend 2 months just writing it out so it made sense to me before I was going and telling people, because then all of a sudden they love you, your closest friends and family love you very much, but they're like, you sound pretty crazy. Trading a finance degree for a landscaping job and then a coffee gig to then eventually open a sandwich shop with your friends in a city that you've never been to. From a bird's eye macro view, it is crazy.
Yeah, no, but diamonds are made under pressure and all the other sayings that go along with that. And you are a great example of those who can have a dream, let the thoughts formulate, put it on paper, bring people together and create a belief around it, execute it and be doing all the great things now that you're doing and creating. Not only are you feeding people, but you're creating a community within a larger community here of St. Pete. And I want to thank you for that because it's awesome. And I wish we had even more. I mean, St. Pete has a lot, but I wish we had even more people like you.
St. Pete's a great town. Like, and that's why I wanted to start it here. It's like our culture. Like, if we tried to, you're the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with most. And like, because St. Pete is such a great town, they come into like, it just works. Where like you couldn't go and try to be the nicest people on the block and do good and all this stuff in any town.
No, you can't. No, we definitely have open arms here. I think that there's a lot. I say this on almost every show, but it's because like you and like myself and many others, not everyone's from here.
Yeah.
And so you have
most people aren't.
Most people aren't. And when we just had Shelby Pletcher on, which and Michelle Whiting, they own some businesses on Central Canvas Fashion. We wouldn't know because we're not women. Not to say they sell women's clothes, but Shelby was from here. I said, Shelby, you're a rare breed. Like
I meet a local. I'm like, can I give you a hug?
Right. You're a unicorn. Yeah. But to the point of not being from here, when you meet someone else, it's like, oh, have that in common. We're both new. To this area, which I find to be fascinating. And it has like, I think that's why New Yorkers kind of get this thing, because a lot of people maybe move to Manhattan to kind of have that similar thing, but we have that without the busyness. A little more chill.
Our coffee shops don't open at 6,
right.
They open at 8.
Right.
Like,
Well, that's just the South thing too. That was an adjustment for me moving down.
Oh my gosh. I was like, when I first started coming over, I was like,
I get in the office early. I'm like, where's everyone at?
Yeah.
What? Oh, no one comes in until 9.
Traffic doesn't start till like 9. Right. Like, I'm used to it at 7.
Yeah, it's great because I beat them all.
It is.
Before we wrap this up, I ask every guest, other than your own shop, because then it'd be biased, what's your favorite place to eat in St. Pete?
Can I say a few, like for different reasons?
You can name as many as you'd like.
I love Bo and Mo's for like a nice dinner and like steakhouse. They've adopted us as like just the new kids on the block. They're 3 blocks away. They're fantastic and the food's good with a Chicago twist. And then Cappy's for pizza. I don't eat a lot. Like I probably had 186 sandwiches last year, and that's not even an exaggeration. Like I would eat 1 meal a day. It would be a sandwich, and that's it. Yeah. And so like I haven't eaten everywhere.
Right.
I'm a coffee shop junkie. Like whether it's Intermezzo, Bad Mother, Paradeco, like I go to my coffee shop and I cook at home.
Yeah,
like that's my 2 things. Or I eat Gateway every day.
He's loyal. He believes in his product, folks. That's for sure. Well, Grant, thanks for coming on. Appreciate all the great things you guys are doing in the community. Keep it up. I'm excited to watch you grow, and I'm glad we got to know each other in this setting. And for those that made it this far, please go get a Gateway sub if you haven't had one already. Where can they find you other than at the shop? On social?
Social media, gateway.subs. And then we also have a Facebook group, and we're working on trying to launch a new website here soon, a little bit more interactive and whatnot. So then we'll start funneling stuff that way.
Just open your Google Maps or your Apple Maps, put in Gateway subs right now if you're hungry, and hit go. You won't be let down. And we'll see you here on the next one. Please subscribe, comment, do all the fun things, share with a friend, and thanks for listening.
Sweet.
Dude, your story is